Welcome back to Inspiring Hope, where we encourage you and one another as a community to have only positive expectations through true self-care. I'm your host, Dr. Traci Williams, and today we are going to get started. I have another fantastic guest with an awesome topic that I think is relevant to anybody, anywhere, all over this world. So please tune in, make sure that you rate, you download this episode, and share it with others. I had today with me Mr. Ronald Shah. Ronald, you want to give a little shout out to everybody?
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Traci, for allowing me to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited that you are here. You have done some incredible things and had an incredible life, it seems like. So I want to just, jump right into it. Ronald Shaw is fully dedicated to powering entrepreneurs and investors, forwarding them to achieve their ambitious goals. He's been coaching elite traders for over a decade now, founders and leaders both. And prior to coaching, Ronald was head of equity derivatives trading at a large structuring desk born in London. He's lived and worked all over the world, including the US, the Japan, the Netherlands, and the UK. So I think that is exciting. He holds an MBA from London Business School and a BA in economics from Cambridge University. And today I'm really more excited to talk about his book and the services that he offers. And so we're just gonna jump right into it. And I want to show you guys his book in a second here, and then I'll jump back on. So if you see me pop away, don't be, confused or anything. I'm still here, just in the background, playing along. So welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about this book, what the name of it is, and, kind of your why behind the book.
Yeah, thank you, Traci. So the book is called The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom, which is really what it's about. It's about the fact that we can have a desire like trading to be successful in a material sense, in a traditional sense, and have a spiritual path. And they can actually not only work together, but actually can reinforce each other. You can make progress materially and spiritually at the same time. And it's really not that unusual. It's not even that difficult to move in the right direction. In fact, it's something that I encourage most people to do. It's really, really quite a wonderful path.
Yeah, I really like that. How did you choose to get on that path of trading?
Yes, so my life has been always these kind of two things: the kind of traditional success, either in school in the early days, and then in my career as a trader, and the spiritual side have always been there. But I always kept them very separate. Early in my life, they were very separate. Trading and the spiritual were kept as different things, and actually the two communities were very different. When I was in the bank trading, they would be, if I talk about something spiritual, you'd be like, okay, whatever, hippie, that's, this is real stuff, this is money, this is proper stuff here. If I'm in the spiritual community, it's the opposite. It's like, oh, what's all that materialistic ego stuff? This is the real stuff here. This is what life is about. So both communities were a bit antagonistic to each other. So I kept quiet, basically, in each community. But over time, I thought, no, this is me. I'm not one or the other. I hold both. And as I worked with people, as I helped coach traders to become better traders, I realized that at a certain point, these two things do go hand in hand. As you become a more higher quality trader, one who can really manage their emotions, you're actually on the spiritual path yourself. So I found that these two were moving together anyway. With the people I was working with, they were often making these comments. So I thought, I want to share these ideas and then have other people have access to them. So hence writing the book.
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to find your tribe, and like you said, I know a lot of us have experienced that. You have one community that you're in for spiritual, like we can actually compartmentalize our lives. And I think that brings a lot of chaos within ourselves when we don't just, accept all of us, integrate all parts of us. Now, as a coach, talk to us just a little bit about that, the psychology behind it all.
Yeah, so my personal experience, and this is the experience of most traders, is that you start off and you're learning what you need to learn. I think we talked earlier, you do the Series 6 exams, you do whatever you need to do to get the information in there. And you think, when I have all this knowledge, I'm going to be a great trader. And what happens is, I mean, you do get better, of course, with this knowledge, but at a certain point, you realize that with all the knowledge in the world, if you understand economics, you understand balance sheets, you understand trading patterns, all of this big stuff, psychology still matters. It really matters, in fact. And there comes a point where it doesn't matter how much extra you learn in terms of information, you need to get your mind in the right place to trade. And yeah, so whoever, if anyone's ever traded, you realize that you go, oh, I'm going to do this, and you have some plan, and you go in there, and the market whips you around, and you're like, well, what am I doing? And you start feeling like greedy or fearful or whatever it comes up. Anyway, but that's normal. So that happened to me, and then I realized after say losing a fair amount of money in the financial crisis, I realized it's not just about how book smart you are. You need the psychology. So then I went down the route of working with a coach myself, and then I got to a certain pace where I thought, this career as a trader is kind of within a bank is done. I want to move out and have my own thing, become an entrepreneur, and that's when I started working with traders to make their psychology move to the next level. So that's my path and the path of many of the people I work with.
Awesome. Oh man, thank you. You said so many gems in there. So one of the things I want to ask you is, what do you, as a coach for traders, what do you find are the most common blockages that we would have?
Yeah. So it does sort of vary from group to group. So I work with a lot of traders in banks, and generally to be a trader in a bank, you've got usually some really good academic record, and so you're used to being a winner. You're used to like being successful. Trading, doesn't matter how smart you are, you're going to lose some amount of time. The best traders in the world, they win maybe 70% of the time. So that this is a big problem that the traders often have when they come to me, where they can't handle the failure. This idea of failing in an individual trade, it just they can't handle it, and then they do all sorts of strange things. So that's a big thing. Fear of failure is a really big one, not just amongst bank traders, but in general. And then amongst the more regular kind of person who trades, there are a few things that happen. Fear of missing out is a really big one, I find. You might be there, you'd be sensible about your analysis. You're like, I'm gonna buy this. This is good. And then somebody from outside on a Discord server or a Telegram chat or something comes and says, oh, this is terrible, or do this, and suddenly you're like, oh no, I'm gonna miss out. I've got to go over here, and you haven't done the work, but because you feel like you're gonna miss out, you jump in and work on that. So these fear of failure and fear of missing out are two big ones. There's many more, but these two really stand out as problems that traders often have.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Now, I want to bring up one that you didn't mention and just see, have you ever experienced this before? Because this not only applies to trading, but other things that we do in our lives, right? So we can be successful. So that's why it's important for us to, talk about what, these things that block us just from being successful. Whatever your definition of success is, we all still have that, it's all about the psychology behind it, or the spirituality behind it, however you want to look at it. But there's also that fear of success. You experience that with some.
Oh, absolutely. So you get people, some traders who actually get in that stop zone with a fear of failure and fear of success. Poor guys, really like, they're like, what do I do? But fear of success, absolutely, because people have, as you know, Tracy, sometimes negative associations with money. If I become successful, it means I must be a bad person, or it must mean that I've done something negative to someone else, or I'm lucky, I don't deserve it, and all this kind of stuff. These kind of things often get pulled up. So fear of success, especially amongst the sort of regular traders, people who are kind of, they get the Robin Hood app or whatever it is, and use these kind of things. Often that is the case, and the way it manifests often is when they have a winning trade, they might think, okay, this is a certain level that I'm going to exit, and then when they get towards it, they might exit early because they think, oh, I'm not going to make it, I don't deserve it, or they might go, oh, this is the one winning trade, I don't deserve it, so let me just go for it really hard, and hope it goes really well, and they leave it too long, and then it turns into a loss. There are all these very strange behaviors that I've done, because you have some fear in the background, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of missing out, many other things that make us behave in a way that is completely irrational. And when you're in the trade, it's a completely different world from when you're before it. When you're before the trade and you have a nice plan, just like entrepreneurship, you have this nice plan, it's going to go like this. And then when you're in it, then, you know, something happens over here, something happens over here, you're juggling, you know, so your partner calls at home, something happens. And in the moment, all sorts of things get triggered. So indeed, these are definitely not just about trading. This is in life in general, especially in entrepreneurship. And these are often really buried. Some of this stuff, like, you have to go through a bit of a process before you actually see that this is what's driving it. So fear of success, like usually a trader goes, I don't have a fear of success. You know I'm going to be good. I'm going to be, you know, they're very strong. And then you dig and you dig and you dig, and then it comes up, and they're like shocked. They're like, wow, I have this fear of success. Well, what's that doing there?
Oh man, I'm just laughing because I've experienced all of that. And actually, what's funny is the other day I watched a girl on TV, and she was going to win something that was like $250,000 a year, you know, to do something that she really loved. And she was like so close. I mean, down to the next 3 people. And she just kind of, it freaked her out. And she literally ran out of the place in the, you know, in the midst of taping it and everything. It was just like, no, I'm like, that's straight fear of success, because she was on the path, she was on her way, and she could do it. And I know many times that, you know, some of us have felt that same way. You know, we're on our path, we're doing all the right things, you know, we're winning all the contests, and, you know, people are pushing us on and saying, hey, we could do it, and they can see us being the next this, that, or the other. And then all of a sudden, you just like, what you start thinking, it's our ego gets into play, right? So we like, what if I this, what if I that? So talk to us a little bit about the ego and how that plays a role in all this, especially with traders.
No, that's a very, very good example. Indeed, the ego, and just, I want to sort of clarify what I mean by ego, and I'm sure it's aligned with you, Tracy, but sometimes ego, I think, is all about, you know, the guy who's walking around with a puff chest, but ego has many forms. Ego is basically anything that's kind of driven by fear, by a sense of needing safety first, and just being so closed and focused on that we don't open ourselves to other opportunities. We have limiting beliefs that form the structure of ego. So that's really, when I work with my clients, that really is the place where we go. So we have a lot of goal setting, and we go into the energy of it. You know, use the law of attraction process to really make sure we're heading in the right direction. And that's then when the resistance starts coming up, that's when we start to dive in and go, okay, so what's actually going on here? What's the ego that's coming up here? And what's really interesting is the same kind of thing, such as fear of missing out, might have actually different ego form behind it. So fear of missing out, obviously everyone knows FOMO is pretty well known now. But when you dig behind it, it could be fear of missing out because, you know, if I miss out, I might get rejected from the group. So it's a fear of rejection, like not being accepted. But it might be, you know, if I miss out, then I'm a bad person because I had the opportunity and I didn't go for it. Or if I miss out, it's because I'm incapable, and really I should have been more capable and got part of it. So even though you've got this one term, fear of missing out, what's beneath it can be very different types of fears, and that drives a different type of ego, and that is what you kind of work on. That when you go to there. So, okay, so one client of mine, Jo, it's not her real name, but Jo, she's a really good trader. She had really good ability to spot a certain type of pattern. She knew how to do it well, and she would trade it well. But if she got towards the end of the month and she hadn't hit her profit targets, she would start to do really weird things. She would start to see patterns when they're not there, you know, like all sorts of strange stuff was happening. And she would trade based on these patterns that she weren't actually there, lose money. And then afterwards, when she looked back on her trades, she was like, why did I do that? That just wasn't there. I mean, we went into a process to see that. And it turned out that she had a fear of failure. And if she thought, I don't hit that target, I'm going to be a failure, and that's the end of the world. The target was arbitrary, but still in her head, it meant failure. And then we went even deeper, and it went back to some childhood stuff with her mum. We did some processes on those. But once she healed past that, once she got clear past that, her trading, of course, improved. She didn't act in a strange way. Her eyes could see what actually was on the chart, not something she created. But of course, once she cleared up this fear of failure, it wasn't just about the trading. Then her relationship with her husband improved, her calmness in her business improved. And so, this is a very clear example of where we start with trading, but actually her inner growth, her spiritual growth was benefited by the same. And you keep on doing this kind of thing. And eventually you start to get calmer, not just in your trading, but across your life. And that's the sort of the path to inner wisdom.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you mentioned all of that. So that's why it's not all about the skill or the talent that you have, but you got to look at every area of your life, especially the psychological part of it and the spiritual part of it, because they all, play a role together. So, hey, thank you for bringing that up. But that brought up so many questions so many topics for me. I love the fact that when you clear that up, then she could see clearer. She became more present in the moment. And I think that has a lot to do with everything. We become more conscious about what's really going on, because a lot of times things are going on in our subconscious and they're running the show and we're not even aware of it, but we think we are aware of it.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to make sure that, you get with the coach when you notice that, sometimes you're fearful, or you've had some successes, or you've had some ups and downs, and then you want to feel like, okay, I can't take it no more. Whenever we base anything on our emotions, it's just not healthy for us, because our emotions will go up and down, and so we don't want them to ride us like a roller coaster, and I don't want to be on a roller coaster ride. So talk to me a little bit about, let's see, some of the techniques that you use, just a brief things on a few techniques you use to remove those blockages.
Well, to remove, okay. So the first thing is sometimes just shining a light on what's actually underneath all of this. That is often enough. Once the person, so for example, with Jo here, once she saw that it was based on something her mother has said when she was 7 years old, that already just made her think, well, hang on, this is not relevant. That okay, it's a painful moment back then, but this is not relevant to my success or failure now. And then now, Jo's 31, so she's like closer to her mother's age back then, so she understands her mum was not this all-knowing deity. Her mum was a human being just like anyone else, and so just that, without even doing any healing process, just the awareness that came from that already started to release it. And where that's possible, I often to let people do that. Just be present with the information that they've got. Like you say, be mindful with the information, and that releases it. That said, I haven't trained in, as coaches, we love learning techniques. So I'm trained. I'm a trainer in NLP. I do timeline therapy. I'm a hypnotherapist. All these lovely stuff, and various other kind of niche techniques that we use to bring energy, to bring resource, to bring positivity to these negative scenarios. So if they are a little bit stuck, we can bring something positive to that scenario and let it actually release. So then it doesn't have to be stuck in there.
Yeah. And NLP is very effective. I really love that technique right there. It's something I kind of had to learn it on my own. I was when I was doing counseling and therapy with students and their parents. It's like I said, I got to do something. This is regular stuff is just not working anymore. So it's good to be able to have different modalities that we can use. Now, just kind of back to your book. I know you mentioned 5 steps about traders, and so you want to share just a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah. So essentially the 5 steps, which is kind of my go-to process, which pretty much anyone can use. It starts off with the problem, and then we go through a process of just bringing more and more awareness of how we're interacting with the problem. So your thoughts, your feelings, and so on. And when you have all of this information out there, the final step in the 5 steps is to to just look at all of that information, be present with it, and see what is the underlying assumption that's there. And it often just pops up. It's something that it's hard to forecast, but in that moment, some insight will come, a flash of inspiration will come that, this is the true underlying cause here. And that moment is in itself is a beautiful moment for a lot of people. That awareness, that insight, it often brings tears to people's eyes.
Yeah, it's very enlightening, right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that, I mean, that's the process, and it's something that the first time I recommend, if someone's reading the book, that they do it with someone else, with a close friend, with another trader, with a coach, whoever, but to really to do that with someone for the first time, so that they can be in the experience while somebody else holds space for them. But it's something that you can do for yourself afterwards. It's really relatively simple, but a really structured process that kind of came out of kind of years of working with people.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I do want to ask you, how can a person tell what type of trader they are? I think that's important to know that, and to be able to have those systems in place. So just give me 5 minutes on that real quick here, and then share with us how people can get in touch with you.
Sure. So when I first worked with traders, so we talked a little bit about the more therapeutic side, the sort of the psychology, but actually one of the biggest things is, I mentioned earlier, that this law of attraction, this really being clear on what kind of person you want to be. So the question I always ask trader is, when you are a successful trader, what would that do for you? So it's a very simple question, but it really pulls out. And people haven't thought about this. They're like, I want to make money, I want to make money. Okay, great. And what will that do for you? So when they really articulate, well, that is going to give you freedom, is it going to give you independence, is it going to give you strength, is it going to give you status, is it going to give you power, is it going to give you a sense of well-being? What is it really precisely going to give to you? And then based on that, and kind of law of attraction processes or vision boarding and all this kind of stuff, once you get really into that energy, from there, then if you ask, okay, so what kind of trading will suit me, it becomes much clearer. So rather than then going, okay, I'm going to follow this guy because he seems like he's successful, or this lady because she seems like she's got a good strategy, rather than doing that, you go, okay, you know what? This is the kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person who wants to, be really smart about how I do the market. So then maybe you want to go and then look at lots of news, look at information-based stuff, and come up with your own theory. Maybe you're somebody who's much more about the kind of art of it, the joy of it, and you want to maybe look at trading patterns. But once you've found what kind of trader you are, but what kind of joy that you're going to get from trading, when you're really clear about that, then the style of trading actually falls out very quickly. So that's the tip I'd give to any listeners. And in terms of contacting me, my general webpage, ronalshah.com, is probably the easiest. It has links to my coaching, to my speaking, to my book, and all this good stuff. So ronalshah.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. And I just want to throw this in here, like in your book, I love the part where you say each time you look at a chart or a piece of trading information, it could be an act of creation. And I think creation is like so important. So then you go further and say, creating a new understanding relevant to that moment, and not a rehash story of something, well, your book goes on and on. So I just love that part where it's like, it's important to be able to be more present in the moment and learn some techniques that we can use when we do notice that, hey, I'm not acting on something that's happening right here and right now, but I want to be present in the moment so I can create something new, a new experience, some more success, whatever it is our goal is, that's tied to our core beliefs, because I think that's important too. But I like that you're creating a new something relevant to right there and not rehashing the moment. So I just want to leave you guys with that. Keep creating new moments and stay in the present so that you can stop rehashing those old stories and know that you can live a new story. Ronald Shah, thank you again. And don't forget, you guys, make sure that you download his book. I know it's on Kindle and it's exciting. And so it's a short read. It's an easy read. It's not anything too difficult. If you want to start get trading, come on, get in contact with him. If you're already trading and being successful, you definitely still need to contact the coach, I believe, because there are many levels of success, and one thing we talked about is fear of success and also fear of failure.